Alright, you guys, welcome back to another video. And I know I'm a little late on this one, but I honestly didn't expect them to drop 324 PTU when they did. They dropped it on the same night that this video came out. So I wanted to hop right into the PTU and get some footage for you guys. So those videos came out. I'm still playing in the PTU. I have some stuff recorded that I just have to edit and put together, doing cargo missions and whatnot. Don't worry, I will continue to bring you guys the 324 PTU content and share my ideas with you, but I just wanted to throw in kind of some of my opinions about the most recent ISC. So we did get a lot of new information about pyro and different things, and I just kind of wanted to walk through some of that content with you guys here today. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, stick around, let's hang out and let's watch this thing together. Let's go.
But what is there actually to do in the pyro system once we get there?
This is the big question. This is what I was talking about months and months ago, is that pyro traditionally has been a system, or in lore, pyro has been a star system that is dead. Okay, that has no resources, no reason to go there. And CAG is slowly changing that to give it more purpose, give it more gameplay, and to give it a reason for players to go continuously. Because obviously, when pyro does get added to the game, everybody's going to want to go through the jump point and explore the planets for themselves. But what is going to keep players coming back on a regular basis? That is what the players really want to know. What is the gameplay that's going to drive a lot of the community to this area?
A brand new, ongoing, never stopping, never quitting contested zone system that'll reward you more and more the longer you can hold it. And a sneak peek at asteroid bases that'll require both ship and FPS combat combined to overcome and explore for its rewards. Let's find out more.
Okay, so basically, the way I kind of see these star systems is kind of like expansions, you know, like how in traditional MMOs you have expansions, new areas on the map that the players can do and do new content. So that's kind of what I think CIG can do with these new star systems. So like when 4.0 and Pyro comes out, knock on wood, hopefully later this year, the idea I kind of feel with it is that, okay, there's going to be some of the same content and some new content, and the players again are going to go there and explore it. And what's nice about that is, because of the way that Star Citizen is, this new kind of like expansion zone will kind of just stay in the game, in the MMO, forever. And then, you know, the next year or two, Nyx comes out, and then after that, Magnus or Terra or whatever star systems they want to drop after that. And each star system, because they're a little bit different, again, Magnus is a UEE star system, and it is the home of Drake Interplanetary, so there are kind of some different opportunities. With a more militarized star system, there can be different gameplay things that get unlocked with this star system. And it's kind of similar with Pyro, because it's a lawless star system, they can introduce some different gameplay mechanics.
So let's start with space stations.
So in Pyro we have 12 space stations. One of them is the jump point station that you arrive at, coming from Stanton.
When you arrive in the gas cloud, you can't see every part of the station. It's important.
Okay, so we have 12 stations. Now, essentially, one of those stations is going to be the jump point station, like they mentioned. The other, like primary station, is going to be ruin station. That's the Xeno threat controlled station. And then the other stations are going to be controlled by the Rough and Ready gang. And then, of course, there are going to be derelict space station and asteroid bases scattered throughout that players will be able to go and do content at. And they're going to get into that.
Possible. In your cockpit, you're just gonna see like a bit of it. And then when you get closer, you're gonna see like, oh, yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, and so that apparently is the Zeus. So it looks like it's coming along nicely. I don't know if it's 100% done yet, but they're kind of teasing it here. I am very excited for this ship.
The Rough and Ready gang is one of our main operators in the Pyro system. Almost every single rest stop refueling station is going to be run by Rough and Ready. They started off back in...
Yeah, so basically, if you're gonna want, to be able to get gear in these space areas and refuel and kind of get back into the action fast, you're gonna want a good reputation with Rough and Ready. And so that's why I think, even though Pyro is a lawless system, I kind of feel like there's still a bit more consequences. Honestly, you're not going to end up going to prison, but having a bad reputation with these players will definitely make your life harder. So you're not going to, having bad reputation with these NPCs is going to make your life harder. So you're not really going to want to go in guns a-blazing at these locations and risk getting negative reputation with them, unless, of course, you really aren't interested in using their services. But I think that's kind of like a good way for CIG to get rid of the prison system, but still have kind of checks and balances in the game, to kind of allow players to, weigh if they want to do this or not.
So a contested zone, design-wise, we are likening them to kind of a classic MMO dungeon. Instead of the primary way of accessing this content being behind missions, we are taking more of an open approach.
It is an open space for players to go in and farm, get loot, some special rewards, and explore the station even more.
So what I really like about the contested zones is the fact that they are right there next to the social space. It's really quick access, which I think is something that makes Pyro unique. You can be in the social space, you have your shops, you have the hub, you have the clinic, but the contested zone is right there, often through just a door, an airlock.
This will be very visually distinctive. It'll be very cold, there'll be ice along the walls. Some of these don't have the life support systems. The power will be generally out.
We have booby traps and mines. You'll hear the odd rustling inside the vents, with some potential surprises in it.
At some point you'll be facing multiple doors, and every door is giving you different things to fight, different rewards, and so you have to choose where to go. And some of them will be blocked through some puzzle elements, like key cards.
You see there's some platforming elements that's kind of similar to Klesher Rehabilitation. I think the platforming at Klesher when you're doing the escape, I think that's very good. I think a lot of players do like that. So if CIG can interweave that type of gameplay in more areas, in these Dalek stations, in these contested zones, that would be interesting. Kind of different objectives, obstacles that you have to overcome that is not strictly combat. But of course these contested zones will be in that, and a lot of MMOs have jumping puzzles, these kind of platforming things. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if they can add these kind of platforming levels into caves, into these Dalek stations, like how they did with Klesher Rehabilitation, and let's say maybe it's a mission, you have to find someone that's lost. Again, I do like the caves in the game, but they're kind of not set up and designed in that kind of platformy way. There's kind of like waves of enemies that you have to kind of go and clear out, and it kind of ends up just being like a bunker. So I think it would be kind of more interesting if they made more of the caves kind of like the escape from Klesher, and instead of having combat in these locations, you're just trying to find different things, and it would be kind of a cool way to explore how deep can you go, how many points of interest in the caves can you find. But let's keep going.
To allow you to open the door and access the wing.
Some areas are more secure than others, with better rewards. Other areas...
And that's another thing that they were talking about in this video that I think is kind of interesting. They mentioned the term rewards a lot. So, and again, it's something that I've said a lot in a lot of other videos, is that right now items don't really have that much value. It's not because of the money, it's because of the utility, right? And again, in the way Star Citizen is designed, because of its realism, things are a little bit different than in traditional MMOs where, things have these rarities, legendary rarity, rare, ultra rare, this type of thing, these types of items, again, makes sense in a fantasy game because of the way they're designed. But in a game that's kind of, more focused on realism, that type of rarity doesn't really have a lot of gameplay um value. It's just kind of like in real life, you might get like a rare Pokemon card, for instance, and that would be very valuable, have a lot of monetary value, but it doesn't really have a lot of value from a utility standpoint. It's just a piece of cardboard that you could tear in half. So because Star Citizen is more realistic, they have to kind of, in my opinion, find different progression loops and find different ways that they can make items unique. And I think kind of, and again, this might be kind of out of left field, but I think what would be kind of interesting, and I always hate, suggesting different things because people might interpret it as scope creep or whatever like that. But I think it would be very interesting if CIG came out with some type of procedural item generator. So, for instance, it could be a system where you have this catalog of attachments and gun bodies and paint schemes, and then you essentially have this system randomly generate a new rare item, so that every time you go into one of these locations, you get a gun or a knife or something that just literally exists nowhere else. And the system would procedurally generate this item. So it would be genuinely and it would be legitimately rare that this AI system or whatever just generated a brand new gun based on the catalog of attachments and different items that are in the game. And again, they could make it like a modular system where they design a hilt, they design a body, a barrel, cartridge. They make a gun that has all of these components, and then this AI system just says, okay, we're going to take that hilt, that barrel, that scope or whatever. I'm going to make this gun. We're going to take this paint color, and then you get a 100% unique gun. And so you could put in like 50 different attachments and stuff, and that would legitimately make a million different guns that this thing could generate. This system could generate millions of different types of guns that would be legitimately unique. So again, that's just kind of an idea, and they can kind of put these items around the verse in these contested zones, so anyone that goes in there will find one of these unique guns. Again, I don't know if CIG has the technology to do that. I just think it's kind of a unique twist on how they can make rare items more valuable and actually rare.
Areas are highly contested, and there's more players coming into that space and more like an arena. We really want to take advantage of that, the vibe for Pyro of PvP, of lawlessness, of being out, sometimes alone, but hopefully you're there with your buddies to help back you up.
The zone inhabits various types of outlaws. These inhabitants are a constant population within this space, so they're not spawned.
So basically the zone is going to be kind of like a PvE, PvP area. So if there aren't a bunch of other players kind of fighting over this area, there's still going to be NPCs kind of patrolling around. So there's kind of always going to be a little bit of action for the players. I do kind of like that, to kind of blend it a little bit. But again, depending on the depending on the rewards, these areas could be very active.
The emissions, they just exist there, and they will respawn over time. So this is a constantly inhabited space with a constant flow of challenges. It also inhabits creatures. Whilst we currently only have copions, we are also thinking about expanding that potentially in the future.
That's good to hear.
The ends could, you could be fighting bosses.
A boss fight?
Yes, we would definitely want bosses. They could.
And this is something also I think is very interesting I want to talk about as well, but I'll let them finish speaking, and then I'll kind of go over my thoughts about this.
Be guarding the best loot. They could be mission-based bosses that spawn as well. So whether these boss fights come to the contested zones or not, in 4.0 or beyond, is still up for development, but I would personally really like to see that kind of thing added to contested zones to make them feel special.
Okay, so what I think could be interesting with CIG implementing bosses in these areas, in these dungeons, because it's kind of something that we had with Seeds of Orson, where there was these lieutenants that had, the unique armor, and you had to get, different items off of them, and you can take the armor and stuff like that. So I think it would be very interesting if CIG created a kind of power armor. They have the Titan suit in lore, and it would be very interesting if they made different types of power suits, or whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to name it, that gives humans, extra abilities. If, it might be a suit that is much better at EVA, a suit that, can carry all of these guns, all of this armament, a suit that might be fast on the ground. Maybe it's kind of like the legs of this suit has wheels, and you have this boss that's just kind of zooming around all over the place. Maybe it's a boss that has a jetpack and it can fly up all over the place. And again, it wouldn't be unrealistic, because these are essentially like Titan suits. There are different types of power armors that these bosses can have, and it would give them more defensive capabilities. So it's not just like an NPC that's a bullet sponge. It would be realistic that, these bosses can take more firepower, and you might have to, target special areas on this power suit to disable it. Like maybe it's, kind of impervious to bullets, you're wasting your ammo, but there are, spots in the armor that, if you shoot or you stab this area, you can kind of get to the person inside the armor. Again, this is just an idea. I know people don't like it when Star System becomes too gamified or whatever, but if CIG really wants to add in these different bosses, give them a reason to have different abilities, or different weapons and tools that they use at their disposal to make them a real threat. That's not just a guy with a gun, because if it's just a guy with a gun, you can just kill them, you can just shoot them. This would give players also reason to kind of group up, get in a team to kind of be able to take down this kind of power armor, super soldier, whatever you want to call it. And I think that would be kind of a good way to make it a little bit more realistic. And having this in pyro in these contested zones kind of makes a little bit more sense than to just have it in Stanton in random places. But I think these bosses could be like, they might not be like the boss of the gang. They might be like, a super soldier defending whatever that gang has behind that door. So if you come across one of these dudes in these power armor suits, he's probably guarding something really valuable. And then again, you get in what I was talking about with the actually rare loot, where you might have a system that generates special guns. Maybe he's protecting some kind of information that data runners might want to get about these gang, the more locations that they have control over, whatever have you. You can make it really interesting. But I think that you really can't call a guy in cool armor a boss. I know CIG has been using a lot of these MMO words, talking about legendary armor, talking about bosses, talking about dungeons. They're really just trying to hype people up, but that's not what any of this stuff is. This is not a dungeon. They're not bosses. There's no legendary armor in this game. If you can make those things, but what they're showing us here is not those things.
So we're adding contested zones for 4.0 really to capitalize on the atmosphere, the lawlessness, having players compete with one another, where there's really that tension of getting that loot out of there, but having to fight your way to do it. Fight your way in, fight your way out.
This is all PvP. So you gotta be careful and always be watching out for other players.
Sounds like a meat grinder.
It could be a meat grinder, especially being in Pyro with the PvP aspect. That's something that we are.
Okay, so those contested zones I want to take a look at real quick. The asteroid bases before we close up. Alright, so now we're going to take a look at kind of these asteroid bases. So this is pretty interesting. Let's see what they have to say, and then I'll, give my opinions or whatever.
Pyro has a number of asteroid clusters. They are the newer, larger asteroid clusters, so they should look and feel very different to the ones in Stanton.
We can see kind of some of the new HUD here. Just wanted to point that out really quick. I think it's looking really good. I like the low profile design. Instead of having all of this UI in front of your face, it's again more realistic. I like whenever CIG brings in more realism into this game. That's why I like Star Citizen. I know I've said it a lot. Not everybody, wants this game to be hyper realistic. I definitely am one of those people, and I'm very unapologetic about that. Again, it's not that I don't want it to be a fun game that you can't, hop in for 30 minutes to an hour and get those good experiences. But I also want CIG to build in those things that really make us feel immersed. Kind of give us the best of both worlds to the best of their abilities. So, people who want to jump in for 30 minutes, get a good experience. But for people who really want to live in this game, they can be fully immersed. So I'm really liking just, the UI things, the visuals. It does go a long way.
Asteroid bases for us are really trying to take advantage of our universe better in terms of the locations that we have. Space is big, space is massive, but for our game, often we don't take as much usage of it as we should. We're taking procedural asteroids and we're carving these locations into it. And we're really providing a lot of variety in the gameplay in a form factor space.
Again, that's really cool. I like the use of these locations. And hey, it might be something for, explorations, explorers, people to find different areas that might be interesting. I think adding in a little bit of procedural technology, and again, they talked about this with jump points and transient jump points. I think this is another way that CIG could kind of add in procedural tech to the persistent universe that keeps it fresh. Things for players to discover that, maybe there's a derelict asteroid base. Maybe it is destroyed, it goes away. Maybe people work on building a new one, and it kind of moves around, and there are different things for people to explore, find, and discover and engage with. And nothing is there are some things that are not quite so permanent, to give people who want to explore an opportunity to find things that are new.
Essentially, we're utilizing the station interior set that we have created, and we're wrapping them around an asteroid, a big asteroid that allows us to be a lot more versatile with the kit that we have and create some interesting layouts for you.
Asteroid Base gives us the opportunity to create missions where you can be in space, then you have to go on the interior to continue the mission. We made a little twist of the bunker, little space where we can have some missions, but in space.
I do like that. But at the end of the day, I don't want them to lean too hard on that bunker gameplay loop, where every location is a bunker, every mission is like a box mission. It becomes very repetitive. really try to do something different at these locations. If there's combat, maybe make some of these areas 0G combat. You know, maybe give us, maybe there's a situation where instead of going guns and blazing, we have to use stealth. Maybe we have to negotiate with some NPCs that are there. We're not supposed to kill anybody, but we have good reputation with one of the factions, so we have to go into one of these asteroid bases and kind of negotiate with, you know, the NPC crew that's in there. CAG has the ability to do a lot of interesting things. They're building this game out. I really want them to start getting creative now that they have more tech.
Sometimes we could start with ship combat. You could have heavily defended areas on the outside. You could be engaging enemies outside on the landing pad.
Some of them even have copion infestations.
That should be fun.
That should be fun.
Yeah, listen guys, I'm very excited about Pyro. I think CAG is doing some good things. Again, I don't want to suggest too much scope creep, but at the end of the day, once we get past this big hurdle with silver meshing and 4.0 and, you know, base building next year, possibly, I think I really want CAG to kind of think outside the box when it comes to gameplay. We have this big universe, these star systems. Really get creative about what kind of content you can design for these locations, and if it means building new tech to be able to make that content available, again, like negotiating with NPCs. You guys know I'm Mr. Negotiation. I think it's a good gameplay idea. I don't know, maybe some people don't think that's interesting, but really think outside the box. I really want to see some interesting things happen at all of these incredible locations. Like these locations look so cool, and I really want to do different things at these locations, not just shoot stuff, and, you know, maybe shoot stuff for different reasons. But let me know what you guys think. I think this is a great episode of ISC. 324 is very interesting. I am going to the next video I do is going to be the cargo missions, so you know, keep an eye out for that video. And then after that, I'm gonna give my, you know, kind of initial feedback about 324. So again, next video is going to be cargo missions, and the video after that is going to be my initial feedback. And I know that CAG is also going to do an inside star system about fire, so that video will, you know, more likely come out a little bit later after those two. So there's a lot of content coming from this channel, so stay tuned. And but you know, that's gonna be it for me here today, you guys. You guys know what I say at the end of these all these videos. If you like the content and whatnot, thank you so much for sticking around this far into the video. I know I post a lot longer videos, but some of you guys really like that. You listen to it on your drive into work or home from work or whatever, and I'm really grateful you guys you know, choose to make me a part of your day and spend this time with me. Thank you guys. This channel has continually been growing. The views are really good. You know, at this time in Star Citizen, there was kind of like a slow point, and it's always, you know, a thing for morale and motivation within the community to kind of get behind what CAG is doing. And again, it's a long haul. We're 12 years in, and there's still a lot they have to make. So I don't blame anybody for feeling a little bit frustrated or feeling a little bit down. That is completely natural. We are only humans, and you know, there's only so much you can wait. But I think it's going to be worth it. I'm having a lot of fun with 324. I've had a lot of fun with this game over the years, and I'm excited to see where this game goes. So thank you for hanging out with me, you guys. And like I always say at the end of these videos, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Salute.